Hey y'all, welcome to T's World of Beautiful Ideas. Join me as I make meal preps for this week, and Sundays are for meal preps. We are going to be, indulging on a conversation titled Defining Relationships as I do the preparation, right? So I am making a simple meal, legumes and chicken breast. Let's go into the preparation and let's have a beautiful conversation. Giving a relationship a name gives it a definition or defines it, gives it a purpose, gives it a direction, a responsibility, and also this last one. Many of us don't quite dwell on that or focus or are not quite aware of it, but giving a relationship a name also gives it limitations, right? These are things that would help us think through whatever relation that we establish so that when it serves a particular purpose, you don't over expect it to serve a higher purpose than what it is defined as, because the name of a relationship would determine where it goes, right? Would determine how it operates, what it does, right? How it operates is purpose. What it does is responsibility. Where it goes is direction. And what it doesn't do, those are your limitations, you get. So a lot of us always focus on this relationship doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like fulfilling its purpose, right? And achieving its responsibilities or doing its responsibilities. But we kind of like turn a blind eye on the limitations or restrictions. And that's where the pit is. We're going to talk about it. Alrighty. So let's give an example. If you say this person is your boss, you have defined relation, right? You have defined the interaction between you and this person, that this one is superior to you, they are your boss, and by so defining, you've given it limitations already. So your boss cannot ask you, for example, where's your husband in the evening? Why is your husband not at home? Or why are your kids not coming back home at 3? Because 3 is the cutoff, is the cutoff time for kids to come back, to still be in the street. Your boss does not have any involvement in your personal relationships or personal life, right? All that he has to be or she has to be concerned about is work. Have you done your work? Have you met your targets? Have you finished the assignment that he or she gave you? You get it? So by so saying, this is my boss, you have defined the relationship. You have given it restrictions. Hence, I say one of the restrictions is he or she doesn't enter in how you raise your kids, the method you use to speak to your children and whatnot. Yes, as human beings, sometimes we overlap, we go beyond the line, the boundaries. And we tend to, as bosses or as colleagues, we tend to just speak about everything, which includes other stuff that don't involve or don't intertwine with the definition of the relation you have with your boss, right? But you can correct it if you want, or you can keep it like that if it's working for you. But we're having a conversation right now, right? Cool. So if you define it as a boss, an employee type of a relationship, there are certain things that you will not also expect your boss to do for you. For example, you can't expect him to fetch your kids unless, like I said, you've established that kind of relationship. But by definition, all his responsibilities or her responsibilities are confined to just the work scope. You get it? All their responsibility, your boss's responsibility, is confined, is tied around just work. Ne? It's not tied to anything outside the company or the company you work for, right? Or the business that you are employed in. But if human beings decide to take it out of the borders of its definition, that's a different ball game, and we can tackle it some other time because it has its own pros and cons, right? Yes, but what we're trying to establish today, or we're talking about, is that once you establish the name of a relationship, you've given it a definition. And when you stick to the confines of the definition, the purpose, the restrictions, the direction, and the responsibilities, that relation, mostly 90%, if not 100%, I don't want to say 100% because, we don't know. Like, what I'm exposed to might be 100% working, but others could be exposed to the same setup where it's strictly just work, but it still doesn't work, right? But I think it would be safe to say, in most cases, when that kind of relationship that's defined that, okay, you're my boss, I'm your worker, and then we stick to work. All we talk about is work, and then we end there. Mostly when things are kept like that, that kind of relationship works. If limits and limitations like boundaries or restrictions are respected, that relationship works. If the purpose to which this relationship is supposed to serve is stuck to, that relationship always works. I mean, your boss knows at the end of the month, please pay me. I don't want stories of, the company, the HR, hey, your contract. You see? Yes, because because one of the responsibilities of your boss is to make sure that at the end of the month you get paid, right? If he's going to come out here or she's going to come out here and say, HR, or your contract was not signed well or was not submitted, then he is going out of the he is actually failing, or she is failing at the responsibilities that he or she is supposed to, fulfill, right? For the relationship that you guys have. And that is what now starts affecting the relationship, because he is not sticking to what responsibilities, he's not sticking to the purpose of this relation that you guys are having. It's not sticking to the limitations. She tackled this whole payment HR contract thing very lightly, like we are friends. Because once you say, I'm your boss, you are supposed to strictly make sure contract is up to par. Contract is submitted to HR. HR is processing everything. HR says payment will be ready by this day, payday of the month, right? The employee doesn't want stories. But if it was a friend, or a family member, right? there now we're talking about different dynamics. And the definition of those two relationships are also different from the boss relationship. Because hence why mostly families and friends don't usually have successful working relationships. The other one is a boss to the other, but we are friends. You have to command me to do something, or I have to command you to do something, but yet I'm your friend. But in this side of the world, I'm your friend, and then on this side of the world, I'm your boss. Mostly, it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work not because people have issues. It can be that, but majorly, it lies on the definition of relations. If it's defined to be this, right? It's named this. The definition of it will give you or will direct you into what purpose it has to serve, what responsibilities it has, what restrictions it has to have. Because as a friend, I can borrow you money, I can give you money, I can buy you presents, I can do a lot of things, right? But then if I have to be your boss, it is going to be like a conflict of interest now, because I'm like, I paid this person at the end of the month. What does this person do with money? You are wasteful. So next time when I am in the side of the world of a friend and the friend asks for money, I'll be like, but I just paid you, like the company just paid you like a week ago. What do you do with money? Now it's conflict, right? We are literally in a literal fight, right? It might be verbal, it might be whatever, but we are just not going to agree and be happy with each other, because in my eyes, this one is wasteful financially. They are ill-mannered, right? And then when they look at me, you want to control my life, you want this, you get it. So it's a conflict of interest. That's what makes that boss and worker relationship complicated if friendship is established, because you are confusing the signals of the definitions. You are establishing two types of definitions, two types of relations, which do not have the same standards and operations, purpose, responsibility, direction, and restrictions. And the other is more strict here, like the boss is stricter than the friendship one, right? Hence, it makes it so difficult to balance both. Cool. So when the boss doesn't, when you don't get paid and the boss says the HR did not process your thing, it's also a war, because how on earth did you not make sure that HR processed my things? But however, if you have that kind of a friendship, relationship, flexible, easy kind of, that's how it's usually described as, right? Kind of a relationship with your boss. Such things are mostly bound to happen. And when they happen, they ruin your relationship with your boss, right? That's just one of the examples. There can be a lot of other things, right? For example, you are too used to your boss and you, for example, have a target. You are supposed to sell and get a profit of 20 million, right? You are like, oh my God, I am not hitting this 20 million, but the boss is my friend. I know my way around him or her, right? And a big board meeting comes, big people, sponsors and whatnot, they're there. They want you to present and pitch this whole idea and show the graphs of how the profit was created, and even show the availability of those funds, right? And you're like, oh my God, I did not do this. And you get there because you know your boss. You don't know the sponsors. You disappoint your boss in front of the sponsors, and the sponsors pull out of that big project. and it affects what? The company, you see. So it's always better to keep to the confines of the definition of a relationship that you're having with whoever it is that you have it, right? Because the moment you get out of the confines of the definition of a relationship, a whole lot of things start going haywire, right? Like they start going south. Cool. Okay, so let's talk about the other side of the coin as far as relationships are concerned, right? Any type of relationship, mother to daughter, mother to son, father, parents to children, actually, boss to workers, friend to friend, husband to wife, like any that you can think of, right? Let's now talk about the other side of the coin. The first one was the relationship is given a name. It now has a definition. It now has responsibilities established. Direction is established. Purpose is established. Limitations or restrictions are also established. Let's now flip it and say it is not defined, right? A thought that comes is that when it's defined, right, on the one end, side of A, right, we call it A side. When it's defined, it's A side. So when it's on the A side, there's a certain entitlement and a certain expectation, right? And if those expectations are not met, yes, so the expectations in this one, they're well defined and they are well explained and spoken about. So if we now have it defined, it means there's that entitlement, there's that expectation, and an end, right? You can't do as you please. You have to stick to the script, right? Because it's defined, it's there, you see it. But then now let's talk about the B side, which is the undefined relation. Like you don't establish that this is my boss or this is the worker or my workers. We're just vibing, right? Hey, in a work setup, it can actually be a bit chaotic. I don't know what you guys think. It like my just one glance at what I just said, that a workplace has no one defined as this is the boss, this is the worker. We just vibing, you know. This one who is actually set to be the boss, supposed to be the boss, just sweeps, sweeps, takes the broom, sweeps, because they can see, oh, it's dirty here, they sweep, right? And then the cleaner, the one who's hired to be cleaning, right, to be taking the broom and sweeping, comes and has a suggestion to the boss, right? That one who's supposed to be the boss comes to them and say, you know, I think we need more officers. First of all, he or she, the cleaner, does not have a specific office that they sit in. They sit in a communal space, right? But they come and say, I think we need to build more offices, or we need more offices for staff. Or they just want, they just come to the boss and have a say about something, right? Because there's no well-defined structure and relation definition, the boss does what the cleaner does. The cleaner also thinks they can also, you know, make decisions and change things around. You get it? So it poses a huge chaotic front and an operation than it wouldn't have if things were defined, right? Cool. Now let's move it to maybe friendship or the dating space. Okay, let's just start with the friendship because it kind of like it's confusing. Let's say this two ladies meet. They start going out for lunch. They talk for hours, and they can see that, man, we are gelling, ne? We get each other, we flow, we agree on a lot of things, right? Sharp. Do you think after 3 months of them interacting is a good idea? Do you think it's a good idea for them to come and define that ship as a relation, like as a friendship? Or do you think it's okay for them to leave it as is, undefined, and then just keep vibing? Remember, if they define it, they're establishing some confines, restrictions, limitations, and some entitlement, and also some expectations. Some may not be communicated, but it comes with a package type of a thing. Do you think it's the best thing to not define a relationship, or it's best to define it? What do you think is the best way to go about it? Because some claim that if you don't define it, then all those factors that were mentioned, direction is not there. Purpose, it does not serve any purpose. No responsibilities. No one is held accountable for any of the responsibilities that come with the definition of that particular relationship. And also, a person can do as they please because there's no limitation or restriction. You get? But others are saying, we were just vibing. We were good. Everything was just going well. You do what you want to do when you want to do it. And both of us were comfortable with that, and it worked so well, and we were happy, right? And then they're like, the moment things were defined, we're like, no, this is boyfriend and girlfriend, or we are friends, right? Or we are worker and boss type thing. Things started going south, right? My question is, did things go south because of the definition and the commitment that this now was being given? Because now, if you don't define it or you don't give it a name, there's no commitment per se, you get? So once there's commitment established, it threatens quite a lot of people that you will have to do this, responsibility, serve a particular purpose, not go beyond certain boundaries and whatnot. Did it break because you defined it's a friendship, you established it's a friendship, or you established it's a love relationship, you have established it's a boss to worker relationship, or whatever relationship it is? Did it break because you established the name and the definition of it? Or it broke because the parties in place, right, are afraid of commitment, or are afraid of responsibility, or are afraid to take up responsibility for something, or are afraid to, live by, or to certain boundaries, like live within certain boundaries, within certain confines, right? They just want to do anything and everything anytime. You get? So the big question is, one, is it best to define relations or not to define them? Two, those that say when you define relations, that's when they die. That's the day they just perish. The question is, on that point that they're making, do they die because People are afraid of commitment, responsibility, living within certain confines, and discipline, right? Because as I sum it up, my observation of giving a relationship a name brings about a discipline. Yes, it does establish some entitlement. It does establish some expectations that go without even one saying, I expect you to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And to a certain extent, to people that want to do anything and everything and anytime, it may feel like a confinement. It may feel like a caging and an imprisonment, right? But sit back, have time to yourself, all by yourself. Ask yourself, what do you want? Where are you going? What are you building? In the next 10 years, with whatever you're having, what kind of results would you like to have? Whatever you're having, I'm referring to relations, right? What kind of results would you like to have, right? And what kind of an end product you, the persona you, like your personality and character, would you like to have? Especially if you are one of those that are saying, the moment we defined it, it broke. Do a thorough introspection and a thorough investigation of the case itself as to what threatened that relationship to points where it broke and did not want to go any further. Because it cannot just be that the moment you said, oh, it's friendship, oh, it's a love relationship, oh, it's a boss to worker relationship, then everything went south. Something is happening that you and I would need to look into. If it's your problem, you will look at it alone, of course. If it's my challenge, I'll look at it like all by myself, you see. But all that we're trying to, have through these conversations is for us to establish a self-healing, a self-restoring, a self-management habit, that would help change the community, change community members. One way or another, to a certain extent, we will have human beings that have beautiful interactions. When things are defined, they give out a structure, a discipline, a purpose, a responsibility, a direction, right? A life worth living because you see where you're coming from and where you're going. I can speak more on defining relationships, but let's speak in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure that you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a video. Of course, I have these conversations as I cook or do something, but they are worth having, I believe. Anyway, if you don't think they're not worth having, it's okay. Give it to yourself, my darling. Thank you. Alrighty. Yes, we see you. You don't see the importance of them. Keep it to yourself. Keep going. Thank you. Bye. Alrighty. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next upload. Bye for now.